So I guess everyone's on trial, the army, the media, maybe even the Prime Minister. That's right. South Africa wants Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to be arrested. They want him charged with war crimes. It's not a surprise though. South Africa has been firmly pro-Palestine. They have criticized Israel's war. They've also reached out to Hamas. So calling for Netanyahu's arrest was just around the corner. Nonetheless, let's take a closer look at what's happened. Why does South Africa back Palestine? Can Netanyahu really be arrested or charged? And what is the role of our so-called global courts here? Let's start with the first question. South Africa has a lot in common with Palestine, like colonialism and discrimination. So their leaders have always sided with Palestine, even Nelson Mandela. Plus, Israel is seen as a Western proxy in West Asia, sort of like America's right hand. So South Africa has consistently criticized them. Last year, they wanted Israel to be declared an apartheid state. This year, in the month of March, they downgraded relations. South Africa's embassy in Israel became a liaison office. And now diplomats have been recalled.
Why recall our embassy officials? This is normal practice when there's a situation which is causing a great deal of harm and concern to a country, as you would be aware, extremely concerned at the continued killing of children and innocent civilians in the Palestinian territories. And we believe the nature of response by Israel has become one of collective punishment, which falls fully outside of the practice of international humanitarian and international human rights law.
Like I said, not surprising, but is an arrest even possible? South Africa wants the ICC to issue a warrant. That's the International Criminal Court, ICC. Now, the court has no jurisdiction over Israel because they never signed the Rome Statute. But over Palestine, well, the ICC says it does. You see, Palestine got UN observer status in the year 2012. Using that, they joined the ICC. So the court can rule on issues in Palestine, issues related to Palestine, like the attack on civilians, or drone strikes on hospitals, or collective punishment. Of course, Israel and the US reject this. They will most likely ignore any warrant or ruling. Having said that, this whole episode puts the spotlight on the ICC. What have they done so far? In the case of Ukraine, the ICC was quick to act. They issued an arrest warrant for Vladimir Putin. But in Gaza, they've done nothing. And I'm not just talking about holding Israel responsible. I'm talking about Hamas too, because the United Nations says both sides have committed war crimes.
The atrocities perpetrated by Palestinian armed groups on the 7th of October were heinous. They were war crimes, as is the continued holding of hostages. The collective punishment by Israel of Palestinian civilians is also a war crime, as is unlawful, forcible evacuation of civilians.
The ICC has reduced itself to a farce. It has limited jurisdiction. It is not backed by any political will, and it's made questionable decisions, like after the Iraq War. It was clear that US and British troops committed war crimes. Washington never signed the Rome Statute, so their soldiers were off limits. But Britain had signed it. So the ICC began an investigation. They published a 180-page report, 180 pages. They also found evidence of war crimes. But what did they do about it? Absolutely nothing. The ICC decided not to go ahead. At the end of the day, it's always political. The US loved it when the ICC issued a warrant for Vladimir Putin. Would they do the same for Israel? Certainly not. Same for South Africa. They have signed the Rome Statute of the ICC, yet they promised not to arrest Putin if he traveled to their country. So where is the consistency? You want the ICC to arrest Benjamin Netanyahu, yet your own government is not ready to violate the same ICC's order. Also, why not call out the Hamas? Like the United Nations rights chief said, both sides are guilty, but South Africa does not seem to care. Their foreign minister spoke to the Hamas chief on the phone, and that 2 days after the October 7th attack. So you see, it's a case of all-round hypocrisy, of picking and choosing whom to prosecute, which war crimes to chase, and which side to call out.